Boo. Hi. I very quickly wanted to make a video about intermittent speed signals. If you guys have an encoder problem or a speed sensor problem for the hub guys on your dynamometers, a way to kind of spot what could be an intermittent problem with the speed sensor. And this was actually, I didn't think I had any examples on here, but I actually do have a pretty decent example here. In this, so this would be typical of what you would kind of see an intermittent speed sensor problem looking like, and a real easy way to sort of just dummy check and see like, hey, is the speed sensor, it's not actually dropping out, it's not like an inductive on a dyno jet where it goes and breaks the line. This is actually something similar that it would look like this is a roll-on test. This is an unloaded roll-on test. This guy's not doing setting the world fire. He's got a 140 horsepower car on there. So what you can see here, when you see these dips, you want to say, hey, is that in my speed sensor? Right now, I think the graph's smoothing and it's at 3. And it doesn't look super terrible awful, but you kind of just pick some points where it's bumping up and say like along those points, like say around 5,500 RPM and around that 5,700 RPM. These places like that. All I'm going to do is I'm going to graph speed on both of my y-axes, and they're going to look awesome because we're still on a smoothing of 3. So you're going to take that smoothing to 0. Don't look at your power. On smoothing of 0, it's just going to look like somebody's heartbeat. It's going to look crazy. But if I look at my speed signal, now I see all these big points where it's kind of just, and there's the one right around 5,500. So they actually correlate. If I put this over time, they're going to move, but we'll zoom back out. So we'll see 3.9 seconds, 4.4 seconds. We'll focus on those two on the black line. So if I set my smoothing back, to something. So we said, what we say, 3.9 seconds approximately, and pull up the power. There's 3.9 seconds. There's 4.4 seconds. So you can see that they kind of correlate. That's an easy way to say like, hey, maybe this is why I said don't look at your power. It's going to look wild. But we'll change this back to acceleration. Excuse me, speed, not acceleration. And they actually correlate to when the speed signal is becoming intermittent. Right there where the speed signal goes wonky, you see that flare and things kind of go haywire. What not to mistake for this is something like very modern vehicles that have like knock control, like a very strong knock control, or a sensitive knock control, like some of the Dodge stuff with the superchargers on it, and I got that example pulled up here. That's typical of what you would see if you're having an intermittent speed sensor issue. But then you can have something like this, where's our smoothing set to here? Smoothing set to 1, and it looks absolutely right as rain, and it looks beautiful. So if I were to graph my speed on this demon, and this is just a stock demon with a tank full of E, not to work. I can't talk and select things at the same time. Now we set our smoothing to 0 here. There are still some, you'll still see sort of some little artifacts in the speed signal. Let me click that so it unboldens itself. But what you're actually seeing there is Dodge's super sensitive knock control. It's actually a quick little acceleration and deceleration for pulling timing out of the car. And the dyno is actually sensitive enough to pick that up. So that's not to be mistaken. It'll always spike. It'll spike when it's being intermittent. If it's just a little jagged back and forth, and we are zoomed like way in within, you see like 0.675 and 0.68 seconds. So I mean, we're zoomed way in to see that. But so don't mistake that for an intermittent speed signal. It'll usually be a spike, and then in a perfect world or in a car where there's not a ton of knock control, we'll pull up good old Warren CTSV. Let me set this back to My computer's being really slow right now. Probably needs to be turned off and turned back on. So, see, and that still graphed a perfectly fine acceleration run. There's not the weird whoa, 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 whoa going on. Good old Warren CTSV, I think this is set to smoothing 2. So nothing funky there. So we'll graph the speed on this. You guys will see it's just a bullet. It's just dead straight. So this is just like in a perfect world and nothing was interfering with the way the car was accelerating. You can zoom in as close as you want. Turn the smoothing to 0. And there's nothing there. It's just a dead line, you know. So that's what you want to see from your speed signal. If you have some little artifacts, you could have a little bit of combustion instability, you could have a little bit of knock happening or knock retard happening in the ECU. But if you see spikes, I would check the wiring, the 2-pin wire that goes into the J box for the speed sensor. If it's not that, then I would check the wiring at the speed sensor itself, and then quite possibly just replace the speed sensor. Check the alignment of the encoder for the guys with encoded speed sensor dynos. Guys with hub dynos, check the lash. Make sure you're about 20 thou between that sensor and that wheel. And yeah, I just wanted to make a really short video and talk about that real quick. Hopefully that helps somebody who's having a speed sensor problem. My phone never stops ringing. So I'm going to stop this now.